Would it make you the jerk for telling your cousin to not eat your food? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for refusing to let my sister-in-law bring her dog to my house? I have 3 male cats, and they're all very skittish. They're indoor cats and don't cope well with stress, especially when it comes to dogs. If they hear barking or sense a dog in the house, they hide for hours and sometimes won't come out for the rest of the day. My sister-in-law recently asked if she could bring her dog to a family gathering at my house. I explained that my cats get extremely anxious around dogs and said it wouldn't be a good idea. She got upset, saying that her dog is part of the family and very well behaved, so it wouldn't bother my cats. I suggested she leave the dog at home or find a pet sitter for the evening, but she accused me of being unreasonable and prioritizing my pets over her. Some family members think I should just lock my cats in a room for the day to accommodate her, but I feel like that's unfair to them since this is their home. I feel bad for upsetting her, and I think the rest of my family is annoyed with me, but I don't think I'm wrong for wanting to keep my cats safe and comfortable in their own space. Consistent Leopard 71 replied, "Not the jerk. When did we get to a point in society where people think it's acceptable to take their dogs positively everywhere? Since when can a dog not be left at home for a few hours? I'm a dog lover, but would never dream of taking my dog to an event in someone else's home unless the host specifically said that dogs were welcome." Klutzy_criticism_856 commented, "I'm right there with you. I'm sick to death of people like that because just because your pet is your family doesn't make it anyone else's. Unless you give birth to it, hired a lawyer and went through family court, or took part in some effed up bestiality science experiment, that animal is not your child. Taking your pet to other people's homes is a privilege, not a right. You don't always get to exercise a privilege. When told no, suck it up and make arrangements for your pet. This might include declining an invitation. If you truly can't leave your pet for a few hours or afford a sitter, then you stay at home like those with actual children. Why is this so hard for some people to grasp?" Also, hi, my name is Brendan, and if you guys enjoy these Am I the Jerk videos, it would be awesome if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to our podcast. That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not being Chatty Cathy with my hospital roommate? I, 30-year-old female, had surgery earlier today. I gave birth to a baby 6 months ago. There was a complication which could not have been able to be operated on at the time. So I was the first surgery for the day. The nurses kept mentioning it. After recovering, I was brought to my observation ward. About an hour or so later, I had a roommate, a 40-ish female, joined. I'd been watching TV shows on my iPad with the volume on loud. As soon as she arrived, I put my AirPods in as a courtesy to her. Later in the afternoon, my husband brought over our baby to come and see me. As soon as they left, roommate started up a conversation. I was polite and entertained the conversation for about 30 minutes. I apologized to cut the conversation short, but I was going to have a nap. Well, she got all huffy and rude, saying I was selfish. When I woke up from the nap, roommate was no longer there. I called for pain meds, and the nurse said I must have really said something to her, as while I was asleep, she demanded to be moved to a different room, and that I should be kinder with my words. I feel that I'm not the jerk for wanting to sleep to recover. It could be the meds I'm on, but I feel horrible. Well, I have a small update. I'm in a private hospital. For my admission, I did request a private room, but it's not always guaranteed. Yesterday and today were the last days for elective surgery. To my surprise, an old classmate works in the recovery ward and didn't want to freak me out yesterday by visiting. She texted me saying she saw my name and then me in the ward yesterday. This morning, she came by before she started her shift. We had a lovely conversation and she got to meet my little one as my in-laws came by to visit as they're babysitting for him. It was a wonderful silver lining as I hadn't seen my classmate for about 6 years. Turns out the former roommate was never meant to be put in a room with me as there's a lot of empty rooms. My new morning nurse said that the former roommate was still complaining about me and a whole lot more. She was doing laps up and down the ward and made comments to my mother-in-law about how rude I am as they were leaving. Mother-in-law told her to shut up and focus on her own recovery instead of worrying about other people. I get discharged tomorrow morning, so I'm trying to rest up before I'm back with my little family. Mernswag2 commented, "Not the jerk. Why are you even entertaining a thought about how some busybody you'll never meet again feels about you? You're not in a hospital to make friends, but to get well. Ignore the nurse as well. She had one side of the story from the victim who probably painted you as the jerk." Economy Cod 310 commented, "Not the jerk. Tech in a hospital here. Both the complaining roommate and the nurse are jerks. Unless that nurse was joking, she was out of line. As for the roommate, who does she think you are? Her entertainment coordinator? You're in the hospital because you're ill. You need rest and meds, not some nagging pain in the butt yapping in your ear. This is why private rooms in all hospitals should be a thing. You had every right to take a nap, and as far as I can see, you were polite about it. You gave them half an hour and then apologized and said you needed rest. After surgery and anesthesia, this is necessary. Don't give this another thought. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling a mom that I don't care about her daughter being dumped by my son? My son Dylan dated Melanie since 10th grade. They're now juniors. Dylan dumped her last week and Melanie took it hard. I got a text yesterday from Melanie's mom to call her. She wanted me to bring back Melanie's sweater that she left at our house a couple of weeks ago. I said sure. I told her she could pick it up. The mom came and said that I should talk to Dylan about how much he hurt Melanie. Melanie was very attached to my son, and my son broke up with her in the wrong way. I told her I wasn't talking to my son about anything. They're high schoolers and stuff like this happens all the time, and Melanie isn't special. My son doesn't owe you or Melanie an apology for not wanting to date her anymore. Dylan wasn't mean about it. He just said he didn't want to be in a relationship because he wanted to spend more time with his friends. The mom said that was BS. I said I don't care. He doesn't need a reason. It's none of your business. She asked me if I cared about how my son treated his girlfriends. I said, do you care how your daughter treat their boyfriends? She said it was different. I told her I had nothing left to say except I don't care about her or her daughter. Edit. Not that it matters, but I'm not the mom. Will love coffee forever, one commented, so not the jerk, but that woman is. If he mistreated her during the relationship, then that should be the issue. But this woman is saying your son mistreated her because he dumped her. This woman needs to talk to her daughter and teach her she can't have everything in life and there will be times where she'll be hurt and disappointed, and this is one of those times. Sounds like she spoils her daughter so much that she'll do anything to appease her, even attempt to force a reconciliation. Your son made a choice for himself, and if Melanie and her mother don't like it, too bad. Sradink commented, I wonder if mom was talking about how he dumped Melanie. The OP shot mom down and didn't really seem to listen to her. It's also not a bad idea to talk to your kid about relationships and how to communicate. I teach high school kids, and they aren't always the best with their words, and many lack empathy, so I could totally see a teenager dumping someone in a callous way without thinking about how hurtful it was. Our next story is, am I the jerk for snapping at my mom for telling people I'm gay? My 20-year-old male sister, 14, was reading a book yesterday when she asked me, what does a Greek god look like? I asked her why she's asking me that, and she showed me a passage saying a guy has the features of a Greek god. So I told her, muscular and handsome. I noticed my mom giving me a weird look and asked her if something's wrong. She said nothing. Later asked me if I like my best friend, 20-year-old male, because he's tall and muscular. I was taken aback. As it turns out, she had always assumed he and I are gay, which is not the case. I quickly told her we're not gays, but she didn't believe me, saying the way we behave around each other leaves no other possible interpretation. So I told her she should stop trying to interpret and see things that are not there. She said, okay, before telling me she told her friends that I am gay, but haven't come out to her yet, and that she was worried about me keeping it bottled up inside. I snapped at her for it. I have nothing against gays, but I don't want them to think I'm one when I'm not, since it'll only lead to awkwardness. Not to mention, one of them has a daughter I have a crush on and might ask out. She said she only told them because she was worried about me and wanted some advice on what to do. OK_historian_646 commented, not the jerk. Mom went way out of bounds with that. Not only should she not have confronted you, but she never should have said anything to anyone else. As a mom, I'm completely taken aback by her actions. If and when you're ready, you need to sit her down and explain to her how this really affects you. Though you're not gay, if you were, it would be your choice to tell others. It would be up to you, OP, to decide the who's and when's. Being that she made a completely false assumption about your sexuality and told others, Mom should feel like the butt. Electrical_elk3416 commented, exactly. Even if he were actually gay, the mom had no right in telling her friends when he has not come out yet. She told her friends that he's gay, but is worried he's bottling it up? If he were gay, that would definitely make him feel safe with his own mother to keep confidential information that he may not be ready to share to the public yet. Not saying he is. I get she wanted to be supportive, but I'm a teenager, and even I know that that was the wrong way to go about supporting him. If your child is closeted, or you think they might be gay or whatever, telling other people before they actually come out to you or are comfortable making it public will most definitely make them feel unsafe with you with their confidential and personal information. Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting a woman cut the line at the grocery store? Hi Reddit, I need your opinion on grocery store etiquette and not letting someone cut the line. Tonight after work, I stopped by my local grocery store to grab a handful of items to make dinner. 5 items in total. I maneuvered my cart behind an older woman who was slowly navigating putting her groceries on the belt to be checked out. She was the only person I noticed in front of me. A few minutes later, another woman tries to edge her way in line in front of my cart. I gave her a quizzical look and she said, "Oh, I was here before, but I went to go and see if the other line over there was moving faster." I said, "Okay, but you weren't here when I arrived, so..." Shrug. The woman proceeded to inform me she was here first and that she should be let back in because she only stepped away to see if the other line was faster. I replied that I did not see her before I joined the line, so she could get behind me or go to the back of the line. At this point, she shows me that she only had a few things and was shocked that I wasn't going to let her back in. She had 4 packs of Jell-O. I pointed out that I too only had a few things and I wasn't going to move because I did not see her in the line in front of me when I joined. Now, this is where I may be the jerk. At this point, we're both getting frustrated in this grocery store peeing match for pole position. She says, "So you're not going to let me back in? Where's your Christmas spirit?" I'd had enough of her entitlement at this point and I shot back, "Don't pull that crap." Honestly, if I had been behind her in line, I would have happily held her place if she had asked. But she wasn't there when I arrived and she just assumed she could cut back in line after a few minutes. Using Christmas spirit as a means to get what she wanted was the last straw for me. In the end, she glared at me and said, "I hope you have a Merry Christmas." Her voice was dripping with sarcasm, and she left to go back over to another cashier. The irony is, we both left the store with our items at the same time. So Reddit, am I the jerk for not letting this woman cut in front of me and calling her out when she tried to use Christmas spirit to get her way? Bet I've Made commented, "Not the jerk, she gambled and lost. She would have most likely had a different experience if asked you first, but she just assumed you'd roll over. I never let people cut the line on me. Ask and I'll probably say yes, assume and it's a hard no." Fit_track3827 replied, "That's the thing, she just started trying to edge her way in. It wasn't until I gave her a look that she offered an explanation. And there was no, 'Please, could I get back?' It just, 'Oh, I was here first, but I went to check the other line.'" Our next story is, am I the jerk? Brother-in-law asked my family to move our Christmas vacation we had planned after they, him and his fiance, decided to honeymoon in the same city at the same time. My wife and I, Tennessee residents, were flying down to Miami for brother-in-law's wedding 2 days before Christmas. We're only there a short time to celebrate and then come back home for our relaxed family trip to Gatlinburg that we'd planned for over a year. They've talked for 2 years about starting a tradition for our growing young family to vacation in that area for the holiday in a cabin. My brother-in-law, who was originally going on a cruise directly after his wedding, has changed plans to honeymoon in Gatlinburg. He texts me asking my wife and I to move our Christmas plans either later on or to not show up at all so he can focus on his honeymoon. Mind you, we have no intention on crashing his honeymoon or making a point to see them while there. This trip is about my 1.5-year-old daughter. I also own a small business and have jobs lined up for when we get back, so I can't really move the dates without risking the well-being of my family. I told him that we will not be changing the time or location of our trip. Am I the jerk for standing my ground? I'm an easygoing guy, so maybe that got taken for weakness. We're going out of our way, dealing with Nashville and Miami airport on Christmas Eve, to attend his wedding, and now they want us to give up our Christmas plans too? I'm blown, to be honest. My wife is what I could call a hard-headed, strong individual, so I'm assuming this is why she texted me instead. Now the vibe at his wedding will be off, and I'm confused to why drama had to be started. Flinks98 commented, "Not the jerk. You've had this trip planned for over a year, and your brother-in-law changes his honeymoon on a whim at almost the last minute, and he expects you to change your plans? Wow, he's either really entitled or delusional. I'm betting he talked to you since he knows his sister will tell him to go fly a kite, probably is a very graphic way, or is hoping to create drama between you and her. My advice is to go to the wedding, and if he brings this up again, either ignore him or tell him to ask his sister what she thinks of the idea, but to stop bugging you about it. Either way, make sure you tell your wife about this so she does not get blindsided at the wedding or before it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to call my friend by her new name, Queen? My partner's friend, 25-year-old female, socially changed her name from the name her mom gave her to a name she chose for herself. She is cisgender, by the way. Her name change is due to her wanting to reinvent herself, and her new name, Queen, reflects how she thinks of herself and how she wants others to see her. Her social media usernames and profiles reflect her new name, and people she's met in the past few years call her by the name she's introduced herself as. I'd be glad to support her in the autonomy she seeks by naming herself, but my issue is that she wants everyone to call her Queen. Within the friend group, I notice that sometimes her old friends slip up and call her by her given name. But you can see that it doesn't sit well with her, and that being dead named bothers her. Sometimes she'll politely correct, but not with larger groups. Sometimes her friends self-correct and call her Queen. Since Queen and King are used as terms of praise, reverence, and endearment, I'm very hesitant to call this person Queen. I simply don't feel that way about her. That says, if she tells a funny joke or I'm fondly greeting her, it's easy to call her Queen. It just doesn't feel like a name to me. It feels more like a title. I don't feel right calling my peer Queen. If she were to change her name to a name that means Queen, like Reina, I wouldn't experience any unease with calling her such. I avoid using any name to refer to her. If I do use a name, I try to say Queen, but if I'm not in a good mood or if I'm annoyed with her, I don't bring myself to say it. I asked if I can call her Q, and she said, no, my name is Queen. Perhaps I would feel differently if it were a stage name. RT Throwaway commented, I'm gonna get downvoted for this, but not the jerk. Changing one's own name to Queen, or King, or anything else that obviously signals one belief in their own superiority over other people, and then demanding that people address you by that name is an inherently jerk move. It's so gross and absolutely reeks of narcissism. If any of my friends ever did this, I would honestly be so turned off by it that I would most likely stop being friends with them. Blech. My own issues with valorizing the concept of royalty aside, freak monarchs, seriously, if you want people to call you Queen, work to earn that and let other people give you the title as a sign of respect. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my mother-in-law if she keeps rearranging my kitchen she can get a hotel room? I, 29-year-old female, am married to a wonderful man, 30-year-old male, who's also the brother of my best friend. Our heights are very different, with me being 6'6" and him being 5'7". All of his family are on the short side, and it led to some adjustments in our living arrangements at first, but we found what worked for us. We realized early on that it was easier for him to use a step stool to reach what he needed in the kitchen than for me to be constantly crouching to get what I need, as that gets painful quickly for me. This was fine until my mother-in-law came to stay with us 2 weeks ago. Her roof needs repairs. My husband and I have a spare room while my best friend doesn't, so it was only logical she come stay with us. She's constantly been moving things about in the kitchen, lowering items as she doesn't want to use a step stool, which isn't anything to do with her age or fearing she'll fall, she just doesn't want to. But she keeps harping on about how it's ridiculous everything is so high up and it's rude for guests. My husband has repeatedly shut her down, stating my comfort matters more than theoretical guests, and asked her not to move things. She lets it go for a day, then things are moved again. I've expressed frustration to my husband about this, and the final straw came today when I went to make myself a coffee and could not find my coffee mugs anywhere. It took me 5 minutes to find them in my kitchen, and I found them in the lower cabinet that I had to kneel to get them out of. I was angry and snappish at this, as my back had hurt from getting my mug, and I told her if she couldn't stop herself from rearranging my kitchen, she could get a hotel room, as I've had enough of her entitlement. This led to a lot of blustering and some tears that she was just trying to make it make more sense, and how this is her son's home and how it's just a little reorganization and that they shouldn't all suffer just because I'm tall. She then also began to say how I'm heartless to expect her to stay in a hotel over the holidays. My husband was clearly uncomfortable at this and didn't want his mother upset, but he told her that it wasn't just his home, but mine too, and if she wouldn't respect my comfort and happiness, then she would have to leave. She has went into the guest room and I can hear her crying still. My husband is clearly getting anxious and upset over this, but he's not backing down, and I feel awful that my snapping led to him feeling like this. Maybe I should have just put up with it or been more gentle about how I dealt with it. I honestly don't care that she's upset, which may make me sound heartless, but I hate that my husband is feeling this way. Owls_and_cardinals commented, "Not the jerk. You stood up for yourself and gave fair warning. I believe you've been quite patient. I appreciate that your husband's uncomfortable, but so be it. Sometimes life is uncomfortable. She had plenty of opportunities to stop complaining and to stop moving things around before you drew this line. Express your appreciation for your husband and just let her sit with it. To be honest, I'd be wondering about past interactions with her. She seems to almost take offense to your height somehow, and I wonder if anything has ever come up about your fit with your husband. The optics of such a statuesque person or whatnot. People are weird." No Willingness 3090 commented, "Oh, she's always hated my height, especially the fact that I'm most comfortable in 6-inch heels, a thing my husband adores. I've been best friends with her daughter since high school, so even before I was with her son, I knew her. She made quite a few comments about how I should wear flats to prom to fit in better, then also about how I couldn't wear heels to her daughter's wedding." Our next story is, am I the jerk for banning my friend from my home after she refused to take videos of my bird down? 2 years ago, I adopted an African gray parrot who had suffered neglect. It took me a long time to get her to trust me, and now she's the most loving bird in the world, in my totally unbiased opinion. She is very popular with my friends and loves the attention and company, as African greys are incredibly intelligent and need constant stimulation. One of her favorite things is to sing along her favorite Disney songs, a thing I indulge whenever she indicates she wants it on. It recently came to my attention that my friend had filmed some of these sing-alongs and uploaded it to her YouTube without my knowledge or permission. I found out as I went looking on my friend's YouTube for an old video of a night out with a friend who had passed that I was missing. So imagine my surprise when I found 6 videos of my girl singing. This made me uncomfortable as it felt like she was exploiting her for views, which after her previous neglect and how long it took me to win her trust did not sit well with me. I confronted my friend about this and she told me it was harmless and it was nice to share a cute moment and document it for the future. I told her that if that was the reason she'd done this, she'd not have hidden it from me. I asked her to delete the videos and she refused, so I told her I didn't want her back in my house until she took the videos down, as I didn't trust her to not try and get more videos. She thinks I'm being unreasonable, as it doesn't hurt my bird, and it's not like she's a child who she's putting on the internet for views. Maybe I was too hard on my friend, but the whole situation feels gross. She's refusing to remove the videos still, and has told our friends that I'm being ridiculous. Most agree with me that it's incredibly weird she uploaded the videos without my knowledge, but a couple think I'm being too harsh as it's just a bird. Could I have handled this better? Am I reacting too strong? WinterFox1994 commented, "I do think it's an overreaction to think someone filming something your pet is doing they think is cute is exploiting them like their previous abuse. Insinuating that in your comment is not okay at all. They're not the same or even similar whatsoever. Your friend is a jerk though. It's your pet, and if you're uncomfortable with them posted on a public forum, that's completely fair enough to set a boundary due to the fact that you don't like it. Some people like to post their lives online, some don't. I haven't posted on my social media profiles in years. I like privacy. Tag photos at events, etc. are unavoidable really, and I don't care much. But a photo of your pet in the privacy of your own home when you've said you don't like it is pretty intrusive. If they can't understand that, then they aren't a real friend." Our next story is, am I the jerk for asking my cousin not to eat my food? My 25-year-old male cousin, 24-year-old female, let's call her Amanda, has a mental impairment, so she acts about 6 to 8 years old. She's also a very picky eater, which makes holidays hard for her, and she usually just eats the rolls and maybe a few bites of whatever the meat is. Her mom, my Aunt Wanda, never brings anything for her to eat despite knowing what food will be there. We have a family group chat, so people don't bring the same or similar foods, and what my cousin won't eat. Another cousin, 23-year-old female, Elizabeth, has a severe dairy allergy, and her sister, 28-year-old female, Cameron, doesn't eat gluten. They always make and bring their own food. I'm vegetarian and avoid dairy as much as possible. I always make and bring my own food. and eat what I can from what the rest of the family brings. Our family is respectful of our allergies and dietary needs, and does not eat what we bring for ourselves. So we don't cook a lot since it's just the three of us. At Thanksgiving, Elizabeth brought dairy-free, gluten-free mashed potatoes and gravy. Camille brought a salad and a veggie tray with dairy-free dip, and I made a box of dairy-free, gluten-free mac and cheese. I didn't think Amanda would want to eat the macaroni because it's not what she's used to, Kraft or Velveeta, and it does obviously taste different from standard macaroni. She's very sensitive to small flavor changes like that. We had our allergen-free food on a separate table, so people didn't accidentally take our food when there were larger portions of the same food, but with the allergens in them. The only thing that we had that the rest of the family didn't was the mac and cheese. When all the food was out, Amanda saw the mac and cheese and went straight to our food table. I let her know that it was dairy-free, gluten-free, and was just for me, Elizabeth, and Camille. But if she wanted to try some and have some after we get our servings, she could. Instead, she ignored me and scooped up half of it onto her plate. I asked her to put some back because it wasn't fair to take all that when I made it for the three of us. She started screaming and crying, saying that it wasn't fair that we have our special food that she can't eat, when there's hardly any food for her to eat, and no one makes food just for her. I knew with her being in that state that reasoning with her wasn't going to work, so I didn't say anything. Her mom came over and took her to sit and calm down. She took one bite of the macaroni, didn't like it, and threw the plate on the floor. Her mom took her into the kitchen and they made a box of Kraft macaroni for her to eat. Later, my Aunt Wanda told me it was inconsiderate of me to make food Amanda would think she likes, and that I forced my aunt to make her food while everyone was eating. Am I the jerk for asking her to wait until we got our food before taking some for herself? Rapscallion commented, "Not the jerk. Your aunt is clearly the jerk. She should bring food for her daughter and apologize for her behavior and her daughter's behavior." With that being said, that's all the time we have for today. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like and comment below, and if you want to check out our other videos, click the video on the right. With that being said, I'll see you all next time.